Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux here with a top 10 episodes of Smallville Season 2. But before we get into that, I would like to talk to you about an auction I'm participating in. If you are a fan of comic books or film posters, I have some stuff that I am selling. If you look at the description box below, it'll take you to a link for the pre-sale auction. The auction itself will start on October 13th, but you can pre-bid now. Pre-bidding is open, and we're talking early pre-code comics, titles such as Big Top, or All Top, Jumbo, Jungle Comics, Wings, Fight, and also including early Marvel and some Silver Age DC. We are talking Silver Surfer #1, Daredevil #1, early issues that introduce characters such as Black Widow, Hawkeye, within the Tales of Suspense story of Iron Man, the first issue with the Mandarin. Many more along with DC. We have issue #1 of Joker from the 70s. We have the introduction of Power Girl. There's a lot more where that comes from, as well as early posters. King Kong 1976, an early re-release poster from the 1960s of Psycho. There's many more. Check all that down in the information box below, but moving forward, let's talk about the top 10 episodes of Season 2 of Smallville. I'm going to give you two episodes before we get in that aren't even necessarily runner-ups, they're just two important episodes. So if you want to just keep in touch with important episodes as well as the best episodes of Season 2 of Smallville, check out the episode Visage, where Whitney passes away. Sad beans. It's actually kind of a cool, twisty episode, but really has to suspend disbelief. The actor who plays Whitney in the episode, though, is really quite good, so I do give that its due. And then also Duplicity. The only thing that's really important about that, and it is a great scene when it happens, is this is where Pete Ross finds out that Clark Kent has powers. It's not a great episode, but it is an important dynamic to add to the story. But moving forward, we're going to go in descending order, or ascending? I can't remember. We're going in an order, starting in the number 10 spot. The episode is titled Suspect. Suspect is a murder mystery episode of Smallville, and I'm a big fan of murder mysteries. The only thing that holds this back from being higher, because it is a pretty effective mystery, is the resolution of said mystery is not only implausible, it's just not really particularly well thought out. So that is kind of a bummer. But, I mean, you do what you can do, and I'll take a less great murder mystery to no murder mystery. Up in the number 9 spot is Precipice. This is what I like to call the Woman in Trouble episode, because all the major female characters have some kind of dilemma going on in their life. Lana's at the Talon is getting bullied by some jock dudes. Clark comes in, actually hurts them pretty severely. He gets caught by the police, the new sheriff in town. And he gets into a spot of trouble, but Lana needs to learn to defend herself, just as Lex's fiancé is being stalked by a man played by Anson Mount in a really powerful little sinister bit of stalking and performance. And my only thing that really bugs me with this episode is that the male characters are the forefront of the female characters' problem. The females are the ones that are actually in trouble and are taking control of their own agency to some extent, but the camera is focused exclusively on the Clark and Lex of it all. That's a bit misguided and really shows its age. That said, it is a pretty well done episode, well constructed, with, I think, a relatively strong resolution. In the number 8 spot, we have Exodus. This is the season finale of Season 2. It's less compelling than the season finale of Season 1 was. There is a beat at the end that teases for the next season. that didn't play for me nearly as well as the ending of season one's finale. That being said, there's a lot of really interesting, cool stuff here, but it's really front-loaded, and that's kind of a bummer. But it is an important episode nonetheless, a really well-done episode, and Tom Welling gets to emote pretty strongly throughout the thing, and he sees himself dissolving into the villain he fears he could become, when even if he's meaning well, everything he has done is contributing negatively to the people around him. And is this what he is destined to be? It really ties into the theme of this season. So I do think it's a strong episode. In the number 7 spot, we have Lineage, which really acts as a sequel to the pilot episode. You see more of the day of the meteor shower that killed dozens, if not hundreds, in Smallville. And you see how Clark gets to really be integrated into the Kent family and how the Luthors are involved with that. It is a good episode that really, especially if you're a fan of the pilot, which I know some people really, really love that pilot, this is a great follow-up episode to watch. In the number 6 spot, we have Dichotic, which introduces a really interesting villain, played by Jonathan Taylor Thomas, of all people. He is a man that can split himself in two, and he uses his duplicitous ways to kind of cause chaos for Clark and his circle. There is a really strong conclusion to this one. It is it's a good episode. As far as Freak of the Week episodes go, this is the best Freak of the Week episode of Season 2, which they are becoming more and more infrequent as Season 2 went on, in favor of more continued and connected stories and story threads. In the number 5 spot, we have Insurgents. At one point, this was one of my favorite episodes, but upon a rewatch, it's not as strong as I remember. However, it gives us a couple of really important things. First of all, this is the Die Hard episode of Smallville. So if you like Die Hard, you're going to like this episode. And I still really, really like it. But this builds Clark's mythology in, we've seen him be faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive. Now we get to see him leap tall buildings in a single bound, in one of the most powerful imagery across the entire span of Smallville. And it's done at the Daily Planet, no less, which, for my money, this is the best looking Daily Planet in all Superman media thus far. We'll see what James Gunn brings to the table. But I really like the look of the spinning, just overly bright golden planet, and it's just great. I love it. This is a really good episode. In the number 4 spot is the penultimate episode of Season 2, Calling. This is the one where Lana and Clark finally get together, and it's beautiful. The score in this episode is really, really quite strong. Kristen Kreuk is at her best, I think, in this episode for this whole entire season. She is really, really good. And everything just kind of builds. But as the story is building for poor Clark and all the pieces of his life are falling into place, well, he starts hearing Jor-El for the first time in his life since, infancy. And how that starts creating problems. And it's a great episode. Had this been the season finale, I think it would have been just a really dynamite way to go out. As is, Exodus kind of almost feels like a pilot to season 3 more than it does a season finale. Though that episode ties up the themes much better than this does for the season that it was telling. Still, this is a much better episode in my opinion. In the number 3 spot, we have Ryan, which was a sequel to a throwaway episode, I believe, called Warrior, I want to say, in Season 1, where we meet this character, Ryan, who can sort of see into people's future and read people in their intentions and stuff like that, and he sees Clark as being a hero. who then kind of bonds with Lex Luthor over a fandom of a comic book character called the Warrior Angel, and how he just does not trust Lex. This is the sequel to that episode that I didn't even remember existed until I rewatched it, and I don't know how I didn't remember it because it's really beautiful. It made me cry, and maybe that's because I have kids now, but Ryan is sick, and he is being tortured, but in truth, he is sick with something that he isn't getting better from, and this is Clark's first confrontation with mortality, something that will become a recurring theme throughout the series, particularly in season 5. But this episode is good. The actor who plays Ryan is fantastic, and Tom Welling gives his first truly great performance as this character in this episode. And it is, as I say, a bit of a tearjerker. I really liked it. It's complex, it's mysterious, it's always inviting you to watch more, and you're with them on the journey, and then it gets to its emotional conclusion, and you're glad you took it. In the number 2 spot is one of the best episodes of Smallville full stop, and that is Red, where Clark gets gets confronted with a different kind of kryptonite for the first time. Red kryptonite. And red kryptonite makes him lose his inhibitions and become sort of evil Superman. And it is a fantastic episode. Tom Welling is having a hell of a time with it. The inclusion of Pete Ross into the family of how can we help save Clark from himself is really quite strong. This is written by Jeff Loeb, who is one of my favorite comic book writers, having written several comic books that I love, including Spider-Man Blue, Captain America White, Daredevil Yellow. I'm less keen on Hulk Gray, but he also wrote Batman The Long Halloween, which is my favorite Batman story, and Superman for All Seasons. He is a phenomenal writer, and this is a showcase of that, because he also was a screenwriter, and having written things like Commando, and he gets to bring his two worlds together in this film, or in this episode, and it's fantastic. Visually captivating, story-wise, you are there. This is great television. My only complaint with it, and it's not a complaint to this episode, it's the complaint, I guess, for the series of how red kryptonite is used moving forward, is it always just takes away Clark's inhibitions and makes him sort of evil Clark. Where in the comics, red kryptonite was the most fun because you never knew what it was going to do next. It always did something different. Maybe sometimes he'd have a third eye. Maybe sometimes he'd be able to read people's minds. Or make him a mutant in some way. Red kryptonite was fun because it always did something different, and we never get that in this show, and I really wish we did, because the red kryptonite is one of my favorite aspects of the older Superman comics anyway. But Red is phenomenal. One of the best episodes of this show. And it would have been the best episode of the season were it not for episode in my number 1 spot, Rosetta. How could it not be Rosetta? This is one of the best episodes of the show. This is top 5 episodes of the entire show. Contender for the best episode. It is the episode where Clark learns what he is from Christopher Reeve, of all people, who, in a beautiful performance as Dr. Swan, tells Clark about this uncoded message that he had. This message he uncoded. And it sets up the entire rest of the series in a lot of ways. And it's strong storytelling from front to back. You are pulled in and you cannot look away. Everybody knew this was a special episode, so everybody gives their performance of their career to that point within it, at least as far as Smallville goes. And it is so so good. I have zero complaints of this episode, and all I want to do is watch it again. And its integration of the Superman themes by John Williams is also really rich, and I loved it. So there you have it. In the 10 once more, we have Suspect, we have Precipice, Exodus, Lineage, Dichotic, Insurgents, Calling, Ryan, Red, Rosetta. Apparently to be one of the best episodes of the show, you just have to have an R title. But yeah, I absolutely adore Rosetta and Red and Ryan, and I think those 3 episodes you may see on my final list of the top 10 episodes of this entire show when we get to the end point. I would like to hear what your favorite episode of Season 2 is. Are there any that I missed? I imagine most people's favorites are either going to be Rosetta or Red. But maybe Lineage, maybe Insurgents, but I would like to hear what you have to say. Thanks for watching, like, subscribe, check out my auction, and peace.